how can I configure DevStack so my driver passes?
But like, there's stuff in here saying like turn off security groups. Like,
Assert true.
True. It's a good thing somebody updated this to point to opendev.org, but they didn't like the other stuff. Like it says set Cinder secure delete false. That doesn't even run on like anything other than the LVM driver. Oh man.
Oh,
Super cool storage CI.
I love the super cool storage CI.
How do I test FC drivers? One line. Just do this. Okay.
Common OpenStack third-party CI solution. Done. Oh, from Rami. Remember Rami
Oh yeah.
Aslan?
Oh, yeah.
He spent a long time on that thing.
Yeah.
Right behind my cube.
Oh, did he?
He was helpful.
Yeah,
It
he was good.
bad when he left.
Does CIWatch.tintree.com still work?
No,
It's linked on our wiki page.
I don't think.
It doesn't seem to be loading.
Jay's repo is outdated, but the articles are useful to read. Oh, that's not my repo, that's Jay Pipes. Okay. Jay Pipes is now an AWS developer.
Oh, really?
Yep. He works for Microsoft doing AWS stuff.
Oh, nice.
Talk about from OpenStack evangelist to
Yeah.
okay, the results.
But Sean hasn't said anything else as far as what test string you're supposed to run was always quoted as a toxic eval.
Okay.
Was the one.
Yeah.
But recently there's been a couple mentions of the plugins, but I don't know if I've actually seen a specific way to enable it correctly.
Okay.
I personally haven't run into any additional issue of running other than toxiball or something related to that. I don't actually personally run toxiball. I run tester only because I need to specify how many concurrent runners I need to run. If I run toxiball on my machine, it runs on all the cores I have, and that basically saturates the machine. So I have to slow it down a little bit. I have to run it down to a couple less than like 3 or 4 runners basically. But it runs the same task, but it just modifies the tester code that eventually calls it.
Okay.
But Sean has always mentioned toxiball, just like Vicky said. But then if it's lacking, then I wouldn't really know what it is.
I've been wandering around for a year saying we need to get the plugin thing going. We haven't really done it.
Picture out in the wilderness.
We need to plug in.
We need to run plugins. Run your plugins.
I keep having this assumption that we're going to have at least some driver owners who really want to actually make sure their drivers work, and we'll just do this stuff, but it doesn't seem to really pan out. Yeah.
Okay. So the other piece was, do we want to go through and check if they're running all the tests that we care about? I'm not going to have time to do that yet this release.
It really not be that hard for somebody to script up something to test that.
Oh, really?
I mean, all the logs are kind of similarly shaped, right? I mean,
Pear. They're all pear-shaped.
yeah.
They run subunit, then it's easy to scrape. I suppose.
Yeah, I think even just parsing the text log would probably work for most of it, but I don't know. Pretty sure I'm not going to go script that, so
Okay.
if someone else wants to, that'd be
I
really
mean, good
great.
ideas. I can play without. I'll be able to play with it if you want. You look at,
I mean, the hard part's going to be
but,
finding where all the logs are. 'Cause
Yeah.
You have to like look at
yeah,
the,
that's true. You have to put it on the.
you have to look at a Garrett thing.
Garrett, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's an event stream you can get from Garrett that could look at them as they're posted.
Well, I wonder if we could take the source of Sean's
His script.
his script that checks rate of success. Use that to get the scraping,
That's true, because he's
Aspect of
scraping
it.
something off of Garrett for that, right? So,
and then it would just be a matter of going to the log and.
yeah.
But the hard part is not everybody uses the same log file name.
Yeah.
Because his is simpler in that it's just checking for
Well, I mean, you could do.
success or failure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't used it though.
It is an API that you can attach, and you can get like events every time somebody adds a comment and different things.
From the SSH stream.
Where it's exposed.
Just force scrape on a Selenium or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not get wrapped around on the axle on that one any longer.
It's okay. Just been wrapped around that axle for 5 years now.
Okay. A slightly related note, improving automated test coverage.
I think that's a good idea. We should do that.
I don't know who put it on here. Was that you?
I don't know. I might have said that somewhere. Sounds like something I would say.
Don't you have real people doing tests now?
She keeps doing all this actual development stuff, so as much as we were thinking,
Could we just put her cat on the keyboard?
Wow.
it might work. Enough cats who get some new Tempest test eventually. So I think there is probably some low-hanging fruit for things we could test better that just people don't spend much time ever writing new tests for Cinder anything as far as Tempest API level functional kind of tests. I used to have a whole list in my head about specific areas that we could do this with that I haven't thought about in a while. Multi-attach is the one I've been bringing for the last 6 months. People keep asking for this for active-active HA, but I don't think anybody has figured out how you would really usefully do that yet. Dorco was doing a bunch of work a long time ago on multipath stuff with this, but it was kind of, it wasn't really something like you would run in CI on every patch. It was more like a tool set that would induce failures of storage network paths and see what happens and that kind of thing, which is useful stuff, but it's kind of a different context of what you're trying to do. This seems like an area, though, that we rely so heavily on automated tests, but we don't spend any time writing new tests, which seems like a strange calculation, because I think there's, we assume that Tempest tests will test features in Cinder, but most of them are written to where they say, yeah, I asked it to do this thing, and it said it did it, and there we go. That's really like all they do. They don't actually like stress anything or try to actually do interesting stuff.
But we also have the problem that our Tempest tests, as they are, don't always pass, and so people have started yanking them out of the
Well,
game.
there's a lot of broken drivers, but we can put them in the Cinder Tempest plugin. It's a much more suitable location for interesting tests. We don't need to put them in Tempest. We can put them in the Tempest Cinder plugin. Then we have a bit more leeway to do stuff. Like I wrote one in there a long time ago because I got tired of finding customer cases where things would break when people did multiple Cinder create volume from images. And I wrote a test that was like 5 of them at the same time. Just because it's, once you get multipath, iSCSI running and all that kind of stuff, running 5 of them at the same time is way more interesting than running one of them. I specifically wrote that one because I got so many bugs that were like, this thing works until I do 3 of them and then it breaks, kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of stuff like that that we could probably write that would be useful, but no one spends time thinking about this. I guess I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it lately because I don't have a lot of examples right now. But it seems like we would really benefit by trying to do more of this.
Does have test people?
CIs are test people. Internal. We have CI for freaking everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of test people either. I mean, our QA guys, a lot of what they do is test runs. And,
Yeah, same.
So I don't know, should we... I don't know what I want to do with this. We used to encounter tons of bugs at customers that were like, how in the world did this even merge? But that doesn't really happen nearly as much these days as it used to,
That's good,
unfortunately. Yeah.
given that our review bandwidth has gone down.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother putting that topic on the agenda, since now I'm guilty of it too, so.
Yeah. I don't know. I would say, like, I would be happy to think up a list of tests we should write, but I don't. If we don't know who's going to write them, I'm not sure it's very useful to do that. There's not a whole lot of people showing up saying, "I really want to write some Tempest tests today." So.
Well, I don't know that writing up the list is unproductive.
Yeah.
Because, if somebody came to me with outreachy questions, we could at least be like, hey, look at this list of things that we need tested that we don't have anybody writing tests for.
Yeah.
Does your team have the bandwidth that if there was an outreachy person there that you could, like, give them some pointers?
Maybe.
We have one.
Yeah, I was about to say it.
thought Sophia left.
She did leave, I thought, but I think she's working with somebody there.
Yeah, she's working with the Manila team, and the internship is ending. I think this is the last week of her. This is
Oh,
her
is she
last.
the one is she the
Yes,
one I interviewed?
yes, Sol.
Okay.
I think she's ending the internship this week, or probably next
Okay.
week. I don't know if the time is enough. I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not. But you know, if somebody else were to come along and we had a list, you know, even if it was just getting a couple of them done,
The list is
would
in
that?
the. Where is the list in the launchpad?
No, we're saying
If we had one.
if we had a list of
Oh, sorry.
Tempest tests that might need to be written.
I have no two ideas, but no a full list.
Well, I guess let's at least figure out where we would store such a list so that over the next couple months, as I keep bumping into things, I can record it somewhere useful.
Okay.
You have write permission on the wiki.
Yeah. I mean, last time I checked, it's been a while. I think so.
You should have write permission.
Yeah. We kind of quit using the wiki for Cinder stuff a long time ago,
I know, but that's
and then it kind of started again, and I don't.
The goal was to get away from the wikis, but I don't know that that's
it's either that or you have
really.
to, because when we put it in the docs, you have to keep merging, putting up a patch and merging it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we put it on
You
Etherpad,
could just
then we
write.
never plug
You
it.
could just write bugs, honestly.
Well, that's true too.
It's not as terrible.
You
but
mean-
I would just write launchpad bugs.
You
and
mean
see.
storyboard stories?
I mean, if we start using it, sure. Because we can just write bugs or stories to say we need
It's
a.
not even on the list.
I know. I'm sorry. That's a shit pile I'm passing off to you.
I feel like it was just on the list inherently. From like,
Because it always
it's
is.
the same discussion like every time. But I think it actually makes a lot of sense to just write a bug that says we need a test that kind of does this to test this area.
Mhm.
So as long as people don't get upset about those hanging around for a while, that probably works.
Could we tag them with
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
Let's do some kind of tag.
testing, or
Yeah.
Eric's Tempest wish list.
Yeah.
you know, something that we could query on easily when somebody comes along and goes, "We have somebody looking for work to do."
Right. Yeah. Well, we had low hanging fruit for that, but I don't think that's a good idea for this.
No.
We would just tag them as like test coverage or something. We already use the tag tests, at least I do, for like every bug that's unit tests randomly failing. Because there were a lot of those for a long time, and they've kind of mostly stopped now. But right.
Okay.
I think it would have a dash in it based on our previous multi-word tag usage, but I'm not sure.
Multi-word. Okay. Any more progress we can make on that one?
Not really.
Okay. We already kind of hit the open reviews for client, non-client libraries, didn't we? Though we did
Well, we
for
did-
Cinder client.
We did it for Brick.
Okay.
We're still kind of continually having problems show up related to device connectivity and scanning and stuff in Brick with just, it seems like a weekly thing. We get bug reports from customers and we go kind of hammer out some of it, and then a couple weeks later something similar kind of pops up again. It's, I think it's getting better, but I keep feeling like we've like hammered out most of the issues and then more just show up after that. And it's,
Is this for iSCSI?
mostly iSCSI, sometimes it's fiber. I think there's a few places that we fixed multipath stuff in iSCSI and didn't port the same fix to the fiber stuff. But, I think one of them recently was that kind of thing.
Yeah, Gorka reworked almost the majority of the multipath stuff with them.
Yeah, and I kind of thought,
Brick and
I kind of thought when he did that we were done with it, but we still keep finding things to fix in there. It's a tough area to test and prove everything out there for sure.
Let's see. Like there is one OS brick patch that hasn't merged, and it's a docs theme extension.
Oh, just the requirements thing.
Yeah, so that.
Oh, that one. We really actually should do that one. So we're going to be behind everybody else on the Sphinx stuff.
So I'm gonna merge it.
Well, there was a similar one that plus W and then failed to gate for.
Was a Tempest failure there?
So
Did a recheck on that one.
FS already melted message debug.
And then there's the OS brick is pretty good. What's the other one? Python brick client.
The extension thing.
Yeah,
Man, I don't even usually look at that one.
yeah. I can't remember the name of the.
It's like Python brick Cinder client ext or something.
Python Brick Cinder Client EXT.
Is anyone even landing changes in that thing anymore? Doesn't look like it.
I think so.
They're all just like administrivia kind of stuff. Last year. Is that actually consumed by anything? Because that was for some ironic stuff, right?
That is if you want to attach a Cinder volume from an ironic host or any host that's not managed by Nova.
Does anyone use it? I never hear anything about this library. I really don't ever look at it.
was one of the sticking points about the OpenStack client is that
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that OpenStack client has to do still.
yeah.
Okay, so I think we're good on the client libraries then.
But the non-client library freezes sooner.
Is that, do we just have,
So for like Brick, I think the date is sooner than it is for the client.
so would CinderLib be in that too? CinderLib would fall in that because it's not a client.
Probably.
Right.
I don't know for CinderLib. Is it on the same release policy as everything else?
Yeah, it's on the, okay, I checked and put something on the releases page, but now I can't remember. Let me grab it.
Oh, so the non-client library's date is a week before the client.
Yeah. Cinder lives on cycle with intermediary. So it can produce multiple full releases during the development cycle with a final release to match the end of the cycle.
Is it done any releases yet?
It's done,
Well,
there's no stable branches yet,
Yeah,
but it's done a 0.090 release, I think.
that's what I was thinking. Because I think he probably released something for us to package it into
Right.
downstream stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we're required to put a stable branch out for that.
Do we want one?
No, I mean, it's sort of the traditional thing to do for the cycle with intermediary.
I think we have to do it because otherwise you're gonna have problems when you have driver API changes and stuff. I think we're gonna have to keep stable branches for it that line up with the Cinder code for that release.
When's Gorka back from PTO?
Yeah, PTO.
He was
like quite a while ago we went on PTO.
Nobody ever tells me when they have time off, so like I'm always just messaging people in RC, like, where are you?
I'll have to look.
Because
I'll reach out to Gorka to ask about
because I
the
told him he needs to call in to
stable branch
this
stuff.
right for the HA stuff.
Okay.
Did he respond?
Well, I told him the other day, and I talked to him, but I messaged him today.
I just swore he was.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm getting my weeks confused.
There are quite a few open patches with CinderLib out there.
No, Rajat was doing some work. He found some things.
Yeah.
Some of the tests or something.
Yeah. It looked like a number of them were from Rajan.
Okay.
So that would be a to-do for everybody to look at those. Okay. Any more discussion on that one? No? Okay. Go forth and review those. It is now 5 o'clock. Do we want to push forward through the last couple of topics? Get her done with?
Sure.
Do we want to claim victory?
You only had one more for today, right?
Well, I think these are actually two
Hmm.
topics that got smashed together.
Yeah, they do seem a little disconnected.
Yeah.
Because the progress on approved specs for train should take a little time here to go through the list that is appended down below. See what is out there. I would almost vote for doing that at the beginning of the day tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I should probably try to do a little investigation before then. So I'm going to move that topic. And I'll reschedule the timing for tomorrow, later tonight or something. So deprecate backup service. That seems kind of extreme.
What is this? I missed this whole thing.
I have no idea where this came from either.
Sounds crazy.
That's extreme. Really extreme.
What?
It is really
Oh.
extreme. Extreme! Proposal to
it's-
remove Cinder backup tests out of the integrated gate.
This guy again.
Gmon proposed that. And then that turned into, well, if it's not tested,
We should
remove
just remove
it.
the whole thing.
Or we could try to ship software. How is it not tested?
Well, it's not tested because they were removing it from the integrated gate because it was failing too often. And I'm wondering if this is related to the discussion that I added for tomorrow about things that we haven't dealt with, which is the backup tests leaking notifications.
Well, that's unit tests.
Is that unit tests?
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Oh, it was. Oh,
That's just
okay.
unit tests.
Okay.
So we had gates that test all these services. And then somebody who doesn't work on Cinder says, we shouldn't run Cinder backup here because it takes too long to run these tests. Let's turn it off. And then months later they come back and say, oh, we should just kill this thing because we're not testing it now. Is that pretty much the summary?
Well, let me.
Like, that sounds idiotic, to be honest.
Cinder backup testing. All these bugs were reported a long time ago, done some investigation in them. Some are simply due to Cinder API using synchronous RPC calls. That doesn't scale. This bug isn't a backup issue, but it's definitely related to using RPC call rather than cast. I don't see reason why they need to be run in the integrated gate jobs. They don't involve other services, so in my opinion, we should move the backup test to a separate job, which runs only on Cinder changes, to alleviate these latent bugs, failing jobs for unrelated changes, and resetting the entire gate.
Where did deprecate the backup service come into this?
I don't know who put this out here. Is there a way to find out? It's unnamed.
I think we should just say, no, we're not going to deprecate the backup service, because believe it or not, our goal is to ship software, not to make freaking CI jobs run better. So the premise kind of sucks. you know,
But I'm gonna ping Sean and see if this was his solution. I don't know.
Doesn't sound like a Sean thing.
no, it doesn't really. But
I
yeah.
don't think Yvonne would have come in with that.
Well, so let's ignore the deprecated service thing because that's stupid.
Okay.
And let's
Okay.
figure out like, so are tests failing a lot? Is that the deal?
Yes.
I mean, where do we see that? We could read a bunch of different elastic recheck pages. Is that what we do?
Yeah.
Okay. The real problem is we have CI failures and we need somebody to go chase them, it sounds like.
Yes. Is that too harsh?
No. I mean, but, so, okay, so
Well,
what are
we
these
have
bugs?
Tempest. We have like Tempest test case failures, right?
Yeah, so there's a bug in Launchpad. I guess I'll link it here. So there's a bug from 2015, so
This is a good year.
it's exciting.
A lot of interesting things happening.
Friedemann posted in April saying there's a very obvious stack trace in the logs, so maybe he wants to fix it. Another bug. Put out error on a restore. Something called os.fsync, and it got IO error on fsync. It's a lot like a hardware problem. Or at least something's supposed to happen.
Hey, Mike Perez commented on this one. And Shing. It's a trip down memory lane. Sean Day.
I mean, anybody noticed backup tests failing on Cinder Tempest runs? I haven't, like, it hasn't jumped out at me lately that that's an area of concern, but maybe I just haven't been looking in the right place. It's also presumably not just Cinder backup. Presumably it's Cinder backup with some specific backup driver that would encounter an fsync IO error. So it's on the restore. Chunked driver, which is used by most of them. So I wonder.
Well, and I wonder if we're not seeing failures because now the tests aren't being run anywhere anymore.
Would be surprised if they're not being run anywhere on the Cinder jobs. I guess I should make sure, but somebody really messed up if that's the case, but it's happened before. There has been a lot of shuffling around of job configuration over the last number of months. So what job would this be? Like, so the bug was in like a neutron full job, which that shouldn't have been running backup tests anyway. So in Cinder, it would be in the Tempest full job. Do we run back up there? What's the actual test titles? I see that somewhere. I'm really sure the last time I poked at the LIO Barbican job, it at least ran some of the backup stuff. Because I remember fighting with it in Swift for a long time.
That's the one I'm looking at right now.
But it looks like
They've been regexed out.
well, some have. So where are the backup tests exactly?
Volume backups test.
Under Tempest API volume, test volumes, backup, is that it? Is that there?
Backup. Oh, at least in the LIO Barbican, it looks like one backup test is being run.
What's it called?
Uh,
That's a server action.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the same thing.
Okay.
I mean, it might be, but I'm not really sure.
Because in here they've got test snapshot backup, volume backup, export, import, backup reset status.
So we can actually just query Logstash to find who's running this thing. If I can remember how to use Logstash today. It's been a little while since I've done it. Yeah, that's what happens every time I use that tool. I eventually figure it out, but it takes a while.
Yeah, every time I go in there, it's like, I realize there's a lot of useful information in here. I don't know how to get to it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. I'm worried that this whole theory that we're not running these tests might be more true than I would have assumed.
Well, and there was the discussion in there of, oh, we should wait until these are set up to run elsewhere first.
Well, this has happened numerous times where people have seen problems in CI jobs and gone and turned off things, and then the part where somebody makes sure that it's at least running somewhere doesn't always happen. So
What is integrated storage?
somebody's running them because Elastic Recheck says that there's failures that have happened in the last 24 hours. So if I click on Logstash.
It was Sean that provided the let's get rid of the backup driver. Yes,
The backup driver.
the backup service.
Well, that's a terrible idea.
He says we need to get some priority on testing.
Wait, I gotta get
Fixing
any.
testing.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't actually want to deprecate the service.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're running in. Well, they're running in an OS brick job. Tempest full. They're running in Tempest integrated storage. No. Is that a job? Is there a job called Tempest integrated storage?
There is, but I Googled it for backup and didn't find anything. Or not Googled, searched it for backup.
I just found a failure for that happened
Tempest integrated
like
storage?
8 days ago. On a Cinder patch. So let's see. 630.
Maybe I was looking in the wrong place. Oh, hold on.
So, okay, Tempest integrated storage failed on this particular batch with one of these tests. But it failed with
Okay.
volume status must be available or a bunch of other things.
Okay, so in here they're running test volumes backup, volume backups, admin test.
This one was volumes backups test that failed
Yep.
here.
And that's running in here. And volumes backups V39 test.
So we are at least running it. I have no idea
Well-
what the integrated storage job even is, or like, I don't know if that's where we want to run it, but apparently it's running there.
So we're only running 3 tests though, out of what, there are like 6 or
Well,
8.
that might be right for the integrated job.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that job is, so
Okay.
I don't know really what it's supposed to do. Should be running these in. See, I remember worrying about this when we converted some of the stuff to move the Cinder specific Tempest jobs to these generic ones. That was a while ago.
So, and is where we have it commented out, is that commented out there because that's where it was failing?
Where are you talking about?
In the LVM, LIO, Barbican.
So I turned off a bunch of them in that job because there was a bunch of them that failed because they couldn't authenticate with Swift. And I could never find anybody that knew what to do with that enough to go fix it, so I just turned it off.
So it's so,
I used to have the test fail a lot.
Yeah, I tried to get it figured out for a while, and I never learned enough about Swift and how it's all configured to get anywhere with it.
oh wait, hold on. Okay, so we've got, it's also being tested in Cinder plugin Ceph Tempest, but only 5 of the test cases.
But that one may not even fail because that's a whole different path through backup code for the
Okay.
Ceph one. I mean, it could, I don't know, but
So,
so why isn't somebody showing up at like the Cinder weekly meeting talking about this, causing a bunch of issues? I don't know, I'm kind of
Okay.
wondering why in here is like the first time we heard about it. Maybe it's just that I don't read the mailing list enough.
well, and it was in the Cinder channel. Well, yeah, I know. Don't you read all the logs? I mean, it's riveting stuff. If you say John Griffith's name 3 times, he shows up. he's like the
Smiles at
ghost.
you and runs away.
He's like the ghost of Cinder. If they only say it once or twice, they're joking, but 3 times. Okay, so I think the answer is that we need to re-enable the tests somewhere, or
Yeah,
run them
so
somewhere. Or-
So we used to have more jobs that were like Cinder Tempest jobs, and we replaced them with like Tempest Full, which I don't know what all runs in there, but I mean, where's the obvious place that they should get enabled? That's what I'm not sure of.
Well, the proposal in the mailing list was it should be enabled in a job that only runs against Cinder patches.
But I think we had jobs that did that, and people said we're going to integrate all these jobs, and we turned them off and replaced them with these integrated jobs.
Okay.
So if we want our own tests. Or like, why did we do that? Because I think that's what we used to have before we changed all this stuff.
So the Tempest full just runs 3 of the backup tests. It's the same 3 from the other job that we were looking at.
Okay.
And let me see.
We have the Cinder plugin Ceph Tempest job. What is that?
Well, I asked about that, and you said it probably wouldn't find anything. Because it goes down a different path.
Oh, yeah, I read that wrong. Okay, I thought that I was looking at one that was not a Ceph job. There's also the Tempest Slow Pi 3 job. That one run backup stuff because that's a generic job, but it's supposed to run more tests that are marked as slow. What's happening in there? Says skip backup does not enable for the slow job. I guess backup was deemed out of scope for that one. The thing is, I don't really have a good conceptual model anymore of like what these jobs are supposed to be doing compared to each other and which ones are for what and who's in charge of which ones. Like we have a bunch of jobs and I don't think I really have a good understanding anymore of like how this is even set up. Because it's been so many years of just incremental tweaks to them and a few times of replacing jobs with other jobs. Like what is the default test Cinder job that's owned by us that we can even configure?
I don't know.
Like I'm not sure that even exists anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
We were using the LIO Barbican one for some things, but we can't just put everything into that job.
So are we assuming that the backup failures you were seeing are related to that particular configuration for Barbican?
No, I suspect they may not happen on a Ceph one, but they might happen on a bunch of other ones.
But, so, I know that, so is it wrong to enable them in there and see what happens?
Well, if someone figures out how to make them work in there, it would be fine to turn on the backup tests there.
So
I'm more worried about like the next 3 things after this, where somebody says Cinder needs to test this. Oh, let's go into our little special job. And, I don't know how many things we can do until they start colliding with each other.
So, I mean, to me, it's like, okay, they've broken us by taking all of our tests, shoving them into a general test,
Yeah.
and then saying, well, you're not working enough. We're taking those out, and now we've got Sean coming in saying, okay, not tested equals broken, remove it.
Yeah. Whereas if we didn't integrate all the test jobs so much to start with,
Okay.
we could just hack on this stuff ourselves.
So I think we need to add a test job back that runs all the Tempest tests.
And the Cinder Tempest plugin, which is the other thing that LIO Barbican job does.
and does it when Cinder patches are pushed up.
Yeah. Maybe we should just rename the LIO Barbican job to the real Cinder one that tests all the stuff that we care about.
But is there something in that environment that's breaking the backup tests?
Well, there certainly used to be. I don't know if there is. I don't know. There definitely was at one point. It wasn't like a particularly weird environment. I mean, it was just Tempest with the LVM driver, and we turned on Barbican. And at some point, Swift like quit working in there, and no one ever figured out what happened to it. So I turned it off because I couldn't figure it out either. So the question is, if you just go make another job with the LVM driver, would it work doing backups to Swift or not? Like, I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah, I don't, because I have no idea why this job. I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe something happened where it became hard to configure Swift backup everywhere, and we just weren't running in most places, so nobody really looked at it. I don't know. What is the LVM multi-backend Tempest job? I'm just looking at stuff that we have. Like,
I'm guessing it's testing with multiple LVM backends.
yeah, but for what?
And what does DZVM stand for?
Oh, that's stood
That's
for,
separate.
yeah, something like that.
Took me a while to figure that out.
Because I've seen it for years and just never asked.
DSVM, yeah.
DZVM.
But it's so obvious.
You're just pronouncing it incorrectly. That's the,
LVM multi-backend.
Ooh, this looks like it's testing the backup tests.
Could be.
It is.
Looking at Cinder.conf to see. It does have two backends.
And
I
it's
don't know.
got
I don't know what it does, but
backup, create attached volume, backup and restore bootable volume.
it is backing up to Swift.
Backup, create, get detailed list, restore, delete. Although that one is skipped until a bug is resolved.
We also have a job that's for some backup stuff. The vault-back job. Well, no, it's a multi-node.
I love subfolder.
I can't remember what it. So it was a multi-node job that was supposed to do something where it would like. Maybe it had some upgrade test in it. I don't know. Somebody should really write this stuff down somewhere.
I don't know what wiki would have. This would be great wiki to have wiki explain.
I think Erline might know something about that one. In the back of my head, his name is attached to it for me. But we have a job that's like got fallback in the name of the job. So it sure seems like we were trying to have a backup job of some sort.
So we've got the LVM multi-backend is testing 7 backup jobs.
7 tests.
Yeah. 7 backup tests.
The one called fallback doesn't appear to be running any backup tests. So I'm not really sure what that's about.
Fallback sounds like a really great, like, base. And it's done only in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Grenade,
I think it's multi-node.
Cinder, Minnesota sub
So
fallback.
I think what that is since it's a grenade multi-node test, I think it was doing something like it would install volume and backup services, and it was supposed to upgrade one of them, I think, and then do something to make sure they could talk to each other. I mean, I guess there's probably a job config somewhere that shows all that stuff.
No, it
It
doesn't.
must work, because I don't remember troubleshooting that job ever.
It does not run any backup test cases, though.
It's pretty funny, because it's got backup in the name, so.
I am from sub fallback.
So let's see, playbooks, legacy,
Fear me.
So it sets some dev stack variables. Oh man, there's like dev stack gate support for image grenade, sub, fall, back.
Why do they call it grenade testing?
I think it's because you assumed it was going to blow everything up.
Mm-hmm.
Which for a while was definitely accurate. Cinder. I'm gonna find what this stupid job does eventually. Or maybe I'm not, because I was on the right track.
Using step Ansible. Just doing so.
Well, thanks for paying attention.
Yeah, sorry.
Though that's probably more productive. Single node or multi-node?
Single node.
It's good to know.
It won't deploy the iSCSI stuff though on Leap. It errors out on purpose saying that it'll only work on CentOS and Red Hat and Fedora.
Yeah, distro under control, man.
I can probably do all the other work that I was going to do. Git, pull, and all that stuff.
That's good.
Should be able to make a brand new DevStack plugin.
That's cool.
That's good.
So the Zool job for this fallback thing sets some variables. I can't find what actually ever consumes these things. It exports like DevStack gate, cinder, mn, grenade, subback, or subfall, skipback. And I'm not seeing like who ever reads those variables or where they. Maybe this job doesn't do anything useful at all. Maybe we've just been running it for a couple years and nobody knows why.
Is there any history of who put the job in?
I mean, I'm sure there is. Let me see. Hopefully it wasn't me.
You were the one who knew MN might be multi-node.
I've looked at way too many Zool configs. It's very excruciating exercise when you have to do that. I used to spend a lot of time having to do that for the Ceph one. So who put it in? Well, it was in project config, so I guess I'll go over there. Update that to pull from opendev.org because works moved on the Git repos.
It's interesting. Your time lapse. Eric moves very little, and I am all over the frickin' place.
Where did you put that?
And then
Twitter.
Brian got sleepy for a little bit and stopped moving.
Settings.
But I'm all.
I think I found the origin of these jobs.
And I look like I'm headbanging there for a little while.
So they came
That's funny.
from a guy at Intel in 2016. Quite possible that this was like a project that got half finished and like was never done. That makes me wonder if we should just turn these off. I guess we should stare at them and figure out if they actually do something.
Maybe they can be repurposed to test backup.
Well, I think they were trying to test some really useful stuff. Because what they were multi-node tests between the backup and volume and scheduler services. Some multi-node grenade sub fallback. Now that I found all that, I actually found a description of like what they were supposed to do in the original commit. Maybe now I can go look and see if they're actually doing something that vaguely at all.
So how do we want to proceed with that one?
Is there still an active mailing list discussion around this?
I think the mailing list item was from, well, it's from April, and that's why Don brought it up, was that um, no, so there's not still an active mailing list discussion on this.
Well, that's good. Trying to read grenade logs, but I don't really know anything about grenade, so
Pull the pin, throw, run away.
yeah. And then, yeah. So, I mean, I guess we need to figure out, well, apparently there's some kind of bug somewhere because it's happening in jobs now. Somebody needs to go see if they can understand anything about what this bug actually is and what it means. Um, if it's honestly coming down to an I/O error on an F-sync, I'm not entirely sure that it's worth carrying. But we have to dig into it to see if that's always what it is.
Do we have a
Because that
elastic
was-
recheck on it?
Yeah, and that's
Oh, but it's not gonna. Is it gonna find anything?
it's happened like 3 times this week.
Oh,
So there should be something to look at. But if it's actually always coming out of an I/O error on an F-sync, then it's either like storage is failing on the test node, or there's some weird out of space situation. But an out of space situation, we could probably tell from the logs. So I guess we want to find a better failure pattern than the test timed out, and see if it always is failing with this F-sync, or if it's something different each time.
okay.
Is this against LVM? What is this? What's the back
It's
end?
probably usually LVM. I mean, I don't know what Tempest integrated storage runs, but I assume it's LVM. I mean, if there's 3 of them in 24 hours, I mean, we have seen failures before where stuff failed because they just didn't even give LVM enough space in the test rig to run.
And then you hit the wrong timing between jobs, and there's not enough space.
Yeah, so
Well, let's assign to Jing. Maybe she can fix it.
so this test signature,
Yay, OpenSDS, which is now Soda, I think.
Soda.
Yeah, I should. Well, never mind. We'll talk about that later too.
I'm looking at one that happened today to see if it's also got. Okay, so somebody needs to go write an elastic recheck query that looks for the OS error that happens, and track that instead of job timed out, because then we at least would have something to look at. This is running. Let's see, backup driver is Swift. Volume driver is. LVM. The other thing that I would say is sorry. The file no, in this case, if this is LVM, should be apparently I'm just gonna debug this whole freaking thing right now. I'm curious now. I hate that I'm curious because I really don't want to debug this. I do. Yeah, so if you look at the kernel log right around when this thing fails,
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of dev SDB killing request, rejecting IO to offline device, which smells a whole lot like a infrastructure failure.
So do we have a node? Can we narrow it down to a particular system?
Maybe. So this was in Rackspace. This is a,
Rackspace still runs jobs.
I guess.
Huh.
I mean, we definitely can is the answer.
Okay.
It's possible. So the other thing, I don't know. The other question is if some other people are so interested in this, why did they just do what I'm doing right now? But I guess I'll let that go for the moment. It's been a problem for months. Anybody could have done this same debug. Rather than sitting around writing a bunch of mails about it to 1,000 people. But what do I know?
Speaking to the mic.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody ever goes back and listens to these.
I'd be a very dedicated person if they did.
If you're this far in the recording, tweet, I'm still listening to @JungleBoyJ. Thank you.
So you can see in the syslog, like, where did the Etherpad go? Way too many. There we go. So probably somebody needs to figure out if this happens on certain nodes. Maybe what's going on that would cause dev SDB to drop offline. I don't remember enough about how these machines are set up to. Oh, wait a minute. That disk that goes offline
Yeah.
is a 1 gigabyte disk. Probably breaking because it's full. Didn't set up the environment right to run this thing. Should not be the first time that's happened. But I don't know why they're attaching a 1 gigabyte disk to do backups to. Well, okay, I don't know for sure that it's where backups are being done too, but it's related. Maybe that's where the Swift storage is. I don't know.
1 gig of Swift.
Well, it's on the restore. So, I don't know. I'd have to do a map out what the heck's going on here. But,
Okay.
Any device being a 1 gig block device is kind of suspect.
Oh, yeah. Is it a flat file or something?
Probably. Well, and that's the thing. There's it's not just one. There's like 3 or 4 of these 1 gig block devices that are attached. And the problem is if you're making loopback files and attaching them as 1 gig block devices, and you fill up the host, this is exactly what would happen. The block device would go offline and not accept writes anymore.
Okay.
So if somebody pokes around in these logs long enough, that should reveal itself. But I don't know enough about how well this is configured to do it very quickly.
Well, I'm assuming they're using ephemeral disk.
Well, this is, I don't know why there's multiple 1 gigabyte block devices here. I see 3 of them. I don't know what those are for. But one of them very clearly breaks. The SDB DH owned to SDB must be Cinder volume. Yeah, so it's on AT.
Which elastic recheck is this?
I looked and I don't know, I clicked on a thing and I clicked on another thing. I put a link to the log.
Oh,
It's
waiting to restore volume.
so it's the,
Oh, unexpected IO errors.
the one, well, it was a timeout error.
Oh.
I could be very wrong about this being an infrastructure problem because I'm still not sure. SDB might be a Cinder volume. This is debugging gate failures.
A lot of air grumbling over here.
Let's see if I can make a more specific query for this.
I want to assume that the build host ID is associated with one of the machines.
Probably.
So it looks like it happens on multiple systems.
Yeah, I'm less sure about this theory that it's an infrastructure thing.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what this device is. I think I have a query that's better. Not applicable. This is showing 4 of them today. 2 yesterday. Oh, there's 4 today, 2 yesterday, and then none for a week before that. So go back to the 13th, and there's like a whole bunch of them. That's kind of a weird pattern for something that happens in a job that's probably run all the time. How do you go a whole week and not have this happen?
So the to-do I have out of this is Eric is looking at finding a better pattern in the failures, and that we need to figure out we generally need to figure out where we want to run backup test cases long term.
Oh, the last state recheck is there. I already did that.
Okay. Are you going to continue to debug, or are you?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably gonna forget all this by tomorrow. Or whatever. So I'm trying to figure out. I don't know that I have a lot more knowledge that I've generated here other than how to find the error.
I would see these errors like these occasionally, some backup failures, and we'll get the same error that times out because it couldn't get there, and I could never really figure out personally,
Well, this one has a pretty one has a pretty distinct failure message. Wait, what did I just? Oh, that's not the right. Pasted the wrong thing there. I had a query that I sat here and spent 5 minutes writing.
Should we wrap up the recording for today since we've kind of
Yeah, it's probably not.
wandered
It's not
off
exactly
into.
Yeah, we get to that.
If you're still listening, tweet Jungle Boy J with "I made it to the end."
So I have this problem in Firefox where copy and paste doesn't work with Etherpads very well some of the time.
Are you the one that keeps translating it to Japanese or Chinese?
Yeah, because I spent after-hours time studying Japanese and Chinese.
All right, so we're.
And you're using Firefox?
What?
Firefox, not Google. Oh, you're on Linux, aren't you? All right. Yeah. So should we wrap up? Because I think we'll do review of our feature progress tomorrow. Probably not first. I'll maybe put that after we get through a couple of the things that we need, like Rajat and Gorka for. Have you heard from Gorka?
Not today.
Okay.
I can talk about that one if I have to.
Okay. And then we'll just see where we get tomorrow.
All right, so figure we'll be here get into the room at 10.
Yeah, so
We
we'll
should
start
be-
right after 10.
Okay. We should be ready. We know
By
what
like
to do this
10:15.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's say 10:15.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Signing off.